Right. Just let me know everyone can hear me and see me. This is a very short notice thing. And again, this is where we really, I think as a movement, that many people spend time, slagging each other off and bitching about each other instead of actually looking at what's really important. And this is the sort of stuff that's really important. What I'm talking about today is the Islamophobia definition debate that's going on in Parliament at the minute. There's been a working group set up, which is, according to Nick Timothy, completely stacked. The people are very, very sympathetic to having an Islamic blasphemy law, at least on the statute book. Are the Islamists, again, I couldn't possibly comment, but draw your own conclusions. But the issue is with this, we have literally got 3 days to save the UK from an Islamic blasphemy law. Now, can we do that under the current terms of reference that are set on this consultation? I've just done the consultation document. I've just filled it in. It's very easy to fill in, but you'll see when you go through it, it's stacked against us. You've got to try and do it seriously, even though some of it's completely farcical. Ask you a whole lot of questions, ask you to give a few ideas about what you think about Islamophobia, etc. So obviously, if you go in there and you're disrespectful, it's going to be discounted anyway. You've got to go in there, take it fairly seriously. I've put the links in the description of this video below. We all need to do this. And to be honest with you, we should have been on this weeks ago, and we should have been making a massive fuss about this weeks ago. But all the nonsense that goes on in the movement, people get distracted, infighting, so on and so forth. This is what it's about. It's fighting for our rights. Now, this is a way to do it legally and legitimately. Like I say, the links are in the description below. And why is it important? Because you think, what's a definition got to do with anything? I'm just going to read you the definition, just in case anybody doesn't know what this crazy definition is. Now, this has been floating about since 2018. That delightful libertarian Dominic Grieve is heavily involved in this. I don't know whether he's converted to Islam. I don't know what his agenda is, but he certainly seems to be pushing this definition. This is the definition, okay? So this is what the all-party parliamentary group on British Muslims. I mean, even is there an all-party parliamentary group on British Christians? I very much doubt it. So the all-party parliamentary group on British Muslims has defined Islamophobia as rooted in racism. Now, again, as far as I know, do you remember the Ginger Jihadi that used to go to, I think it was Speaker's Corner, didn't he used to go to? Ginger Jihadi, little gangly kid from Luton with a beard. Well, I wonder, what race is the Ginger Jihadi? He looks very, very British, Celtic. Maybe he's got some Irish blood. Maybe he's got some English blood, but he's a Muslim. Okay. So how can it be rooted in racism? So Islamophobia is rooted in racism, and a type of racism that targets. Now, this is where it just gets completely Orwellian. Okay. So first of all, they're conflating a religion with a race, right? That's the first thing. Rooted in racism, and is a type of racism that targets expressions of Muslimness or perceived Muslimness. Now, again, as far as I know, up until this definition popped into Parliament about 2017, 2018, there wasn't such a thing as Muslimness. What is Muslimness? Is Muslimness the Quran? Is Muslimness Islamic history? Is Muslimness Sharia law? Is Muslimness some of the punishments that are in Sharia law? Is Muslimness jihad? Is Muslimness what's going on in Syria right now, where Druze and Christians and Alawites are getting slaughtered for their religion? Is that Muslimness? What is it that we're not allowed to talk about? And why this is important? This could affect every area of social discourse, because people are already squeamish. They're terrified of saying anything that might offend their Muslim neighbors. That's very, very gentlemanly of everybody. I'm sure that's a great and wonderful virtue to have, right? But if this is put into law, it means platforms like this one that I'm on now will probably be liable for legal action if I say something like, I don't believe Islam is from God, or I don't believe Muhammad was a prophet. If I say something along those lines and somebody is offended by it, straight away this goes into the system. How is this going to affect policing? How is this going to affect any social discourse? The amount of attacks, of terrorist attacks, and even with the grooming gangs, there's now Muslims going on the streets complaining that they've been victimized, because the fact that 90% of them are Muslim has been published, and they're saying that this is racist and it's anti-Islamic, that we're talking about grooming gangs and Muslim grooming gangs. So this is a really serious thing. What we need to do, and I'm not going to make this a really long one, okay? But what we need to do, you need to go to the links. I'm actually going to drop these links. Just bear with me, guys. I'm going to drop these links into drop these links to the chat as well. Okay, so if you're in the chat, from the chat. Just bear with me 2 seconds, guys, while I do this. This is really important. Share this everywhere, by the way, guys. I mean, it's a very fastball video, and yeah. By the way, there is one MP really very good job on, and he's he used to be. I mean, I don't know. The strangest heroes come at the strangest times. He used to be an advisor to Theresa May when she was trying to frustrate Brexit. Okay, so Nick Timothy, but he's smashing it with this. He's really doing a good job at trying to prevent this happening. But this consultation closes on um, on Tuesday. Sorry, not on Tuesday. On Sunday, Sunday the 20th. We need to have this filled in by Sunday the 20th. Okay. And I'm going to drop a link to Nick Timothy as well in here, because Nick has been doing a great job at highlighting this, talking about it in Parliament. And again, he's brave, because um, the reality is, if we don't do this, if we don't get ahead of this, well, we haven't got ourselves to blame, and we've got those rats in government to blame. But we need to really seriously understand how much threat free speech is coming under with this. I mean, we're doing a free speech event on the 13th of September, and my goodness, this is massive. This if this goes through, we need to have people protesting in the same way that the Hamas supporters do every single Saturday. We need to have people in towns and cities up and down this country every single Saturday until either this government falls or this crazy Islamophobia, blasphemy law by the back door is struck down, because that's what people. I'm not an academic. I'm not a politician. I don't know the full dangers of this. But what I do know is that the Free Speech Union, Christian Concern, the Secular Society, these are not normal bedfellows, right? Nick Timothy, loads of philosophers, historians, people with real intellect are saying this is a really dangerous thing that's getting ramroded through Parliament by this vile, disgusting, absolutely abhorrent government that we got in. And we'll not go into why we got in it, but if you voted Labour in the last election, you need to hang your head in shame and unsubscribe to my channel. But yeah, it's really, I think it's really important. I'm just going to go through some of the chats here, see what people are saying. Well, John, you know what, mate? Let's give up. UK's already lost. Let's just not do any of this. Let's just, you know, I don't know, go and live on an island somewhere that's not the UK. The UK is not lost. There's no point in doing this if the UK is lost. We we will fight by all means necessary to keep our country safe and free. Well, I certainly will anyway, and it's as simple as that. Okay. Let's have a look. Case will skyrocket because certain members, certain Democrats. Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is the whole problem. Um, yeah, Sharon. Do you know what? Absolutely, he is absolutely smashing it. You can't fault him on what he's done with this. I mean, this is where we've got to really think very seriously about how we do politics. As you know, I'm in advance, and you know my opinions on reform and so on and so forth. But what about those Tory MPs like Suella Braverman, Nick Timothy, and so on and so forth? Those people are really important people, and we need to really understand that um, they are actually doing things to help the country. Not every single Conservative MP is a wrong. And my local MP is not. He's an independent unionist MP, absolutely great guy. Jim Allister, Rupert Lowe. There are MPs in Parliament, very few, but there are a few good men still in Parliament, and we've got to acknowledge them and encourage them. But again, we need to. Again, I'm going to. this. We need to push Advance UK, because to me, Advance UK is the only party that will deal with this sort of stuff. Can you see Farage getting into power and dealing with this? It's not going to happen. It's never going to happen. I can see Ben Habib doing it as prime minister, and again, nobody can play the race card with Ben Habib. You know, so I think that the reality is that we need to take these things very, very seriously. We need to have a group of people that are constantly looking, having these things on their radar, so that we're not doing it with 3 days to go. We're doing it with, when we're 3 months out or whatever it is. I mean, I don't know how long these consultations normally go on for, but this is rigged. Okay, so this is rigged. But the more fuss we make about it, the more you write to your local MPs. And again, if you've signed up to the pledge, that's part of what the pledge is about. We are going to do an email from the pledge about this. It's not going to be out in time for the consultation, because this only really came across my radar at the weekend. I've been really busy with other stuff, doing stuff talking to the police about the 13th and some other bits and pieces. So I've been really busy, but that's why I'm doing this video today. This is an urgent call to everybody to get on that consultation and do it sensibly. Think about what you're saying, think about what you're doing, and make sure that your voice is heard, because this is the last chance we're going to be able to discuss this issue about Islamophobia with this group. And this group is stacked. I mean, I'm telling you, it's Dominic Greaves, the chair. The rest of them are Muslims, as far as I know. The rest of them are practicing Muslims. So what does that tell you? It is not transparent. It's not fair. And Nick Timothy is saying over and over and over again that this is rigged. But this is a really, really urgent situation. We've got to get this done. And I mean, honestly, some of the stuff we major on, this is the big stuff. The stuff that's going on in Parliament. The only way that we can change things is through parliamentary democracy. And that needs changed as well, because we need to get rid of all these quangos. We need to get rid of all this secretive stuff, these super injunctions, all the nonsense that's been going on. But this is a big one. And remember, this guy, Dominic Grieve, was a very, very senior member of the Conservative Party. And as much as Nick Timothy's doing a great job, and we like Suella Braverman and some of the other Tory MPs, next Tory MPs, the Conservative Party has to die, along with Labour and Reform, to be honest with you. I want to see Advance UK forming the next government. And you might think, Richard, that's absolutely impossible. It's never going to happen. Well, it won't happen if none of us join and none of us vote for the party. The only way that we can do anything meaningful in this country is smashing the electoral system in 2029 and getting a party advance into Parliament with Ben Habib as Prime Minister. And that, I know that sounds crazy, and we've only got 4 years to do it. And we've got a lot of people nipping from each side saying, oh, well, why have you set up a new party? What's going on? No, to me, if you get advanced into government, this sort of stuff will not happen. I heard yesterday, now again, apparently there's a Guardian article floating about that at the turn of the year, Farage had a dinner, fundraising dinner, £25,000, £25,000 a seat. And apparently there were Muslim businessmen paying 25 grand. These guys, apparently they donated a lot to the Tory party. They're doing exactly the same to Farage. Now, I'm not saying that they're Islamists. I'm not saying they're trying to manipulate the system. But I don't have 25 grand to go and sit with Farage. And if I did have 25 grand, I wouldn't spend it to sit with Farage. So we are up against a monumental battle. And this is one part of it. So check out the links. Read everything that's said in the description in the video below. Go and look at what Christian Concernhead have said. Look at what Peter Whittle's been saying. Peter Whittle did a video on this on Sunday, I think it was. And, if you look at the expression on Peter Whittle's face, he understands the gravity of this. New Culture Forum, absolutely superb organization. So we've got to get on this, and we've got to make sure that people understand how important this is. So share this video everywhere. The links are in the description. Click on the links. Make sure you read what Nick Timothy said. Make sure you understand what you're doing when you're going through the consultation. It is really easy and really quick to do. I'm no IT guru. I'm no academic, but I managed to do it in about 5 minutes. Okay. So we've got to get on this, folks. We've got to do our best to stop this, because if this definition goes through and it becomes illegal, basically, to criticize Muslimness, and if Um, being anti-Muslim, as in anti-Islam, which is being anti-Islam is, as far as I'm concerned, totally legitimate. It's a religion. I am anti-Islam. I'm a Christian, and I believe Islam is an antichrist religion. That is not an insult to Muslims. Well, they might take it as an insult. I don't really care. It is a theological position. As a Christian, I believe Muhammad is a false prophet. I believe that the Quran is a blasphemous fable. That is my default position, not because I hate Muslims, but because I hate any religion that is leading people astray. And that's what my fundamental beliefs are. So how is that circle squared? What do we do with that? Well, guys, I think I've said everything I need to say about this. Please go um, into the description and get the comments. I'm gonna get the links and go and click on them. And I am a bit agitated about this because I think it's really, really important. Okay, I'm just going to go through some of these comments because I do like reading what people are saying. Okay, absolutely, Terry. It's absolutely not. Conservative Islam, as practiced by the Deobandi, the Salafis, groups like the Muslim Brotherhood, Jamaati Islami, Islamist groups, is not compatible with the West. Very, very watered down versions of Islam, like maybe the Ahmadiyya or whatever. Yes, that's compatible with the West. They go out and sell poppies, and it's great PR for Islam. They're nice people, right? But if you're in one of these ultra conservative sects, and you're in the silo, and you're not engaging with the rest of British culture, and you're one of the 32%, and it's actually more, but one of the 32% that openly said in the Henry Jackson Society poll last year that you want Sharia law in the UK, or the 50% that want to ban any insults to Muhammad or the Quran, etc., etc. And that's where this is coming from. And this Labour government is bending over to Islam because look at what's happening on its left wing. It's getting torn apart by the whole situation in Gaza with Israel and so on and so forth. It's getting torn apart. And the reality is that the Labour government will do anything to try and protect and shore up its Muslim vote because it's terrified of losing it to Corbyn and his new party. Yeah, totally, Terry. Dreadful questions. I mean, it's rigged. It's absolutely rigged. But it's still important to engage with it. It's still important to get on there and do this. Yeah. Thanks for that. Thank you very much. Yeah, repost this stream everywhere. What we want is we want as many people going onto the consultation. Click those links in the description below. Go onto the consultations. Let me know the links are working, by the way, guys. Yeah. Yeah, I think look, you can sign the thing anonymously as far as I know. So I mean, listen, if you're on the radar, you're on the radar. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. It's Angela Rayner trying to close down. Oh, absolutely, and trying to make it so the terms of reference for the grooming gangs, you're not going to be able to talk about the demographics of the grooming gangs, which are roughly 90% Muslim, Pakistani and Bangladeshi Muslim. That's the reality situation. And that's without even looking, we don't even know what's been going on in London. That's just from research that's been done previously on things like who was appearing in court and so on and so forth, because nobody's been storing data on this stuff either, or if they have, it's been kept secret. It's image of footage house apart, many people around it. Absolutely disgusts me. I now despise the UK due to its powers that control us. It's making all of us, ill with anger. We're absolutely, yeah, absolutely, Terry. I agree with that 100%. And these sort of debates that we're having now, I believe what will happen is the social media platforms, like they always do, will panic because they don't want to get sued. They don't want to get dragged before committees in the House of Parliament and grilled by Yvette Cooper and whatever the Justice Minister's called. I can't remember her name. They're going to panic and they're going to start closing down freedom and closing down the ability to talk critically about Islam. And we should have, in a free society, I should be able to say what the hell I want about any religion. And I've said before, I am a Christian and I believe in Christian doctrines. Because I believe in Christian doctrines, I will never stop saying Islam is antichrist, because it is antichrist. And that is not insulting Muslims. That is not racist. That is a theological position. That is theology. And if I'm not allowed to say that, we no longer live in a free country. At the minute, I can say that. If you remember what Pastor McConnell got dragged into court for in Northern Ireland nearly 10 years ago now, probably over 10 years, he was dragged through the courts for saying things that were perceived to be anti-Muslim. Absolutely ridiculous. The UK was last many years ago. Successful. Yeah, absolutely. It is getting worse. It's absolutely getting worse. On that one, I'm gonna disagree with you on that one, because Judaism is a religion, is a race and a religion, because it is a genetic. People are genetically Jewish. It's a family. Judaism is a big family. So Islam isn't a religion. It's a political movement. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely right, absolutely right. Well, it is a religion, but it's a false religion. So it's not true religion. The only true religion is biblical Christianity. Nick Timothy's my MP. Yeah, we've had that one. Looked at that one already. Yeah, you can. People can repent for voting Labour. Of course, you can. Listen, I'm repenting all the time for all sorts of things, so don't worry. Annie, I think we all will. I think that's the truth. And I don't. The reality is, the reason I've been doing this for since 2007. Well, I've been doing it before that, but doing it publicly since 2017. The reason I've been fighting this. In fact, I first spoke about it publicly in 1998 in a church in the Shankill Road, and they all looked at me like I'd just come from Mars, you know. But the, the the reality is, the reason I've been fighting this is, and fighting it legitimately and legally and peacefully, is because we've got to exhaust all the political routes first. You know, if it comes to a situation where our country is becoming an Islamic state, I would resist that by any means. And I think it's just to do that. I think it's absolutely just to do that, because we cannot have our beautiful Christian country being taken over by Islamists. It cannot be allowed to happen, whether they try and do it through peaceful means or through violent means. We cannot allow them to take our country by subterfuge, by subverting the democratic process, which is what they're doing right now. A thousand, there's a group of 1,000 Islamists, as far as I know, in the civil service, who want Sharia law for the UK. Now that needs to be dealt with, and that needs to be dealt with by whatever government is in power next. And if it's Advance, well, I think I know what Advance will do. They'll all be sacked on the first day that Ben Habib walks into Downing Street. Oh man, that's we'll do that. We can maybe, somebody was asking us to do Revelation on Sunday. That's a big one. It's going to take. I'm not going to do it this Sunday because it's such a massive subject. Do you know the way people are? They're good Muslims or bad Muslims. How come there's no such thing as a good Christian, bad Christian? Well, exactly. I mean, the reality. You're absolutely right. You know, the reality is, a good Muslim. If you call someone a good Muslim, is that someone who totally adheres to Sharia law, who believes everything that Muhammad did and said was perfect, and believes that they should emulate Muhammad? Because if that's what a good Muslim is, then we've got a big problem, haven't we? Because we all know that Muhammad married a 9-year-old. We all know that Muhammad had a genocidal hatred of Jewish people. We all know that he massacred people. We all know that he was a thief. We all know that he was a warlord. We all know that he thought he was demon possessed. All these things are in their texts. So if that makes someone a good Muslim, then we've got a problem. I think what we need is bad Muslims that don't believe any of the nonsense that's in the Quran and the Hadith and the utterances of the crazed prophet. I don't know, Paul. I mean, the reality is, it seems like nobody's paying attention to any common law whatsoever, does it? That's absolutely right. Absolutely right. Yeah, exactly. Let's just do this. Let's do this. Let's get this form filled in. It's a bizarre and ridiculous set of questions, but the more people from our side that fill it in and basically express their disquiet with what's happening, the better. Okay, but this isn't the end of it. We have got to form. Again, our movement has got to be all over this sort of thing. We've got to be writing to our MPs. And again, we're going to do something on the pledge very, very soon. We're going to get an email out from the pledge explaining exactly where we stand with this, exactly what we can do to actually stop this. And again, The only solution to this is a political solution, unless it goes totally off the reservation, right? At the minute, the only thing we can do is politics. And the last thing I want to see in this country is some sort of civil war, civil conflict. That's why we've got to do the politics. And that's why we've got to do all this boring stuff. And I know a lot of people don't like filling in forms. I get that. Yeah, exactly, Kelly. Exactly right. If Zia Yusuf takes over, which I think he's been groomed for, dare I use that terminology? If Zia, I've seen Zia Yusuf. The man is vile. They hear what he's saying about Suella Braverman yesterday, and I just wonder, is any of that to do with Suella Braverman's husband being Jewish? That vitriol against Suella? I just wonder. Don't know. I'm not making that accusation, but I'm just putting it out there into the ether. That we will have to break the law together, then won't we? Because they can't lock us all. Yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, I think like this is the thing. If this gets on the statute book, then and people are coming down hard on us, we go on marches with deliberately provocative banners insulting Muhammad, insulting the fake blasphemous fable that they believe in. And it is a blasphemous fable. It's a heresy. It's the heresy of heresies. It is a vile, disgusting set of beliefs. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. Yep, absolutely. Well, certainly the false prophet. You know, you talk about the Book of Revelation. Talk about how does this fit into end times prophecy? The Book of Revelation talks about a false prophet. Well, hello. There's a prophet who we know is false because we can prove that he's false. There's a religion that is antichrist, and we're being told that we should respect it. No, I don't respect that religion. I don't respect that religion. As Christians, we are called to love Muslims, and we mustn't forget that. So this vitriol I have is not against individual Muslims, but it's certainly against Islamists and people who want to push Sharia law on this country and turn this country into an Islamic state, which they do. Look at what's happening in Syria. And I tell you what, I'm going to say something, I'm going to lose a lot of friends here, but Trump needs to give his head a wobble if he's going to support that lunatic in Syria. Trump needs to realize that that madman in Syria is worse than Assad, and that's saying something. He's an Islamist through and through. And again, I think Israel's got the measure of him, and I could see him not being the leader of Syria for too much longer if they keep pushing Israel. It is crazy. It is crazy. Do you know what, mate? I don't know anything about that. And again, you know, these are all things that our movement should be across. We've got a lot of people in our movement, and we're missing some very, very basics. This here that we're doing today is basic stuff, and it should have been done ages ago. And I apologize for me not doing it ages ago. But everybody else in our movement should be shouting about this from the rooftops instead of bitching about people. Dr. Yasser still said that the Hadith are not accepted in academia. Sharia is heavily based on the Hadith. So yeah, exactly. Well, it wasn't a Christian text because it denies the deity of Christ, so it's a heretical text. Tenconi, more chance of becoming a peace. Right? No, he hasn't. They're on 0.3% in the polls. That's just nonsense. There's no chance of UKIP winning the next general election. It's not going to happen in a million years. Is most of the cabinet are Muslims? How can we change anything? Who will ultimately make the decision? The only way we can change it is in 2029. Is by electing a government that will put this right, and a government. And listen, I'll tell you why I'm back in advance. I basically offered the pledge on a plate to UKIP, and Nick Tenconi completely dished it. Right, you know, insulted it on Maya Tusi's show. Right. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to go with a party that basically I'm going to join a party that supports the pledge, because the pledge is, to me, the pledge is the ideology that's going to save our country. It's as simple as that. And 50, 60, I think there's 60,000 people have signed it now. We've got 50,000 plus confirmed email addresses. And that it can be a very useful tool for stopping this sort of stuff. Because if 50,000 people around the country all start writing to their MPs because they're concerned about Islamophobia from the pledge, that's how we can win it. And that's why I've always pushed the pledge, and I push it on almost every video I do. And again, I'm not gonna be involved in a party that disrespects something that has the ability to save the country, or where the leader disrespects it. Simple as that. They're not Islamic, they're Islamic fascists. Well, it, at the heels of the hunt, is there much difference? That's the question. Well, it's going to be down to this government, and this will almost certainly go through in some way, shape, or form. But the more fuss we make about it, the more. And I think we need street demonstrations on this. I think we need street demonstrations against this Islamophobia definition, even though it seems like something very nebulous. It's not. It's really, really important. It'll affect the media. It'll affect us who are doing social media. It affects every area of what we do. There's no one talking about the Christian children. Exactly. The Christian children. Christians have been slaughtered in massive numbers in Syria, and nobody's saying anything about it. Do you know what? Yes, listen, Mystic Media, Counter Media. I want everybody on Counter Media, even though I do this on the three channels. I do it on my Twitter, I do it on my demonetized YouTube, and I do it on Counter Media. Counter Media, I'd appreciate if everybody joins Counter Media. You can see it if I just get rid of this. Get rid of this. That's the Counter Media YouTube channel. Please go and subscribe to that, because I want to build that channel up. And again, the more people that get subscribed, the more people that join the channel. It doesn't cost anything. I'll say join them, just subscribe to the channel. It's not costing anything. Subscribe to the channel. And if we can build that up to around 100,000, even 100,000, it makes a big difference, because there's not many people doing what I'm doing and saying what I'm saying. There are more than there used to be, but there's still not that many, because they're all terrified, and they're terrified of getting censored, getting arrested, whatever, and it's understandable. And obviously, there's a chance of losing your social media channels as well. But at the end of the day, the truth has to be told, and we must resist the Islamization of the UK, and that is what's happening. The crazy communists and the Islamists teaming up. It is a marriage made in hell. And I mean that. It is demonically inspired. We are fighting against satanic forces. So guys, please, let's start being activists in not going and shouting at people on the street, but activists in the most sensible way of doing it, which is, yes, street demonstrations, but street demonstrations that are mass demonstrations up and down the country about what's happening, about this nonsense that's going on. And also, write to your MPs, lobby your MPs. This is what we've got to do. Write to the local papers, set up your own YouTube channels, set up your own Twitter accounts, and start shouting this stuff from the rooftops, and start talking to your neighbors about it. And again, if you haven't signed the pledge, get onto the pledge, thepledge.org.uk, and sign it, please. I totally agree. I absolutely, totally agree. I agree. Absolutely agree. Everybody should look. Here's the thing: if we had SDP, I've said this for months. If we had the SDP, UKIP, Advance, that's probably it. Actually, to be honest with you, in terms of political parties, the Rump of Reform and Rupert Lowe's Restore movement all joined together with Ben, then you would have a position where reform would cease to exist, and you would have some really, really powerful people and powerful speakers standing together with Ben as leader, and the college of 100 people or 50 people or whatever it is, the wise men, the sages. And I don't have any skin. I've joined Counter Media, but I'm not on the board. I'm just a face in the crowd, and I'm happy with that, because not everything I say will probably match Counter Media's, not Counter Media. Not everything I say will match advanced policies. So I'm quite happy just being a member and not actually having any more responsibility than that. But what I am going to do is push Advance UK until the cows come home, because I honestly believe it is the right party for this country. When I joined UKIP, it was in desperation, because there was no other party out there. And I interviewed Nick, and we had a good interview. And I'll be honest with you, there's some things that have happened. I'm not going to go into them, because they're things that have happened in private meetings that I was not at all comfortable with. And I'm never going to talk about them publicly. The chairman of UKIP knows what they were. Nick Tinconi knows what it is, and I've got the receipts, but I'm not going to talk about it. But it made me realise there had to be another option. When when I heard Ben was thinking about starting a party, I messaged Ben and says, Ben, you start a party, I'll join. I found out about it on the Sunday, and I joined on the Monday and told UKIP I was leaving. So that's the story of UKIP. So it's not, there's nothing. In fact, I've just been actually brutally honest and just telling people what I think. And if I thought UKIP were going to win the next general election, and I thought Nick Tinconi was the man to lead the country, I'd follow him. I'd follow him till the cows come home. But he's not. But he could come in and join Advance, and all the rest of the people in UKIP could join Advance, and you'd have a mega party. If you had the SDP, William Colston, Rod Liddle, what's the fellow that used to be leader of UKIP? I forget his name. Anyway, there's some good people in the SDP. So if all those people came together, we would have a chance. But at the minute, what we've got to do is strain every sinew to fight against what's going on and to fight against this Islamophobia definition. And again, there's too many people not focused, and I'm one of them. I'll be honest with you. Yep. Yeah, well, I hope you're right. I hope God does show up. Well, we can't let it become our country will not become an Islamic state if we fight against it. There are some. I think there's probably 10 million Muslims in the country, right? People say 6 million. I think it's probably near 10 because we don't know how many illegals are here, and most of those are Muslims, right? So if there's 10 million Muslims here, that means there's 60 million people who aren't Muslims. Okay, so as it stands at the minute, and I'm not. Again, this is not what I would love to see. And I've said this so many times. I would love to see every single Muslim become a Christian, and every single atheist, and every single Buddhist, and every single Hindu, right? Because I'm a Christian. Now, Muslims have the same idea, but they have slightly different methods for getting you there. Okay, go and have a look. It's pay the jizya, convert, be subjugated, or die. That's the options that you've got in Islam, in traditional Islam. And if you think that's not true, go and look at history, go and read the texts. I'm not going to get into an argument or a debate. I'm not going to play this game. That guy from the Shield. Oh, talk about self-harming a movement before it's even got off the ground. I mean, who on earth would bring a Muslim community leader into a movement whose goal is to protect people from grooming? Who's going to do that? Sorry. And then you look down the guy's social media and you see he's a free Palestiner. He's a what was this guy in South Africa that was talking about, white genocide, and you look at that and you go, people have got to realize, what fellowship does light have with darkness? You cannot do that. You cannot stand shoulder to shoulder with Islamists and expect there to be a good outcome. And that's what's happened in our government. There are Islamists in the parliament right now. And I believe there are Islamists in the Labour Party as well. I heard one speaking yesterday in Parliament. There are Islamists in the Labour Party. There are Islamists that have gone as independents. And they've got more MPs than anybody on the genuine right has. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. So we've got a massive battle ahead of us. Yep. Yep. Totally agree with that. He is absolutely a wrong one. Israel certainly can see it. Yeah, and do you know what? Listen, everybody, and this is the thing. If people want to join UKIP and vote UKIP and follow Nick, that's entirely up to them. And a lot of my friends are involved in UKIP, still on the board. I'm not going to name them, but there's guys that I'm very, very friendly with are on the NEC of UKIP, and I'm not going to fall out with them over it. I just don't think it's the right. I don't think it's a solution to the problem. It's and I think what it does, it's detracting from the solution, which is now going to be Advance UK. Absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, look at this thing with the Afghans. I mean, Afghanistan, right? If you look at some of the customs in Afghanistan, and this isn't me making this up. We've seen the documentaries, Channel 4 documentaries, the Dancing Boys of Kandahar, the Dancing Boys of Afghanistan, where young boys are getting groomed and you know what done to them. Again, I can't say it because of YouTube, but you know what I'm talking about. Little boys. Now, are they going to stop having those ideas just because they got on a plane and come to the UK, or just because they worked alongside British soldiers in Afghanistan? Are men from Afghanistan going to change their tastes and their proclivities, let's say, what they want to do? No, they're not. They're gonna be exactly the same. Just because you get on a plane and come to a country doesn't change who you are. And then you look at the demographics in Afghanistan, or you look at the voting or the polling in Afghanistan. Sorry, the Pew Research polling, 98%, 2013 Pew Research, 98% of people in Afghanistan wanted Sharia law. So listen, just do the maths. We brought however many 10,000 in so far. So there you go. You've got 9,800 that want Sharia law. So you've got 9,800 Islamists that you've imported into the country. That's just by statistics. That's not me making anything up. Oh man. This is biblical. This is this is the thing that this is the thing about this, right? And the Bible says this: we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against powers and principalities, against spiritual wickedness in high places. And when you step into this battle, believe you me, I had a really cushy life before I got into it. Before I went public in this battle, I had a really nice life. I had a good job. I had plenty of money. Everything was great, you know. And since I've been doing this, satanic forces have attacked me for the last 8 years. And don't get me wrong, I've made plenty of mistakes myself. But believe you me, this is a spiritual war that we're in, and Satan is real, and the forces of hell are against. And that's why I'm becoming more radical about my Christianity, because I'm looking at what's going on in the world. I'm going, Christ is the only answer. The Lord Jesus Christ is the only answer to any of our problems. And I say that completely unashamed. And you show me. I want anyone in the comments who doesn't believe that, right, to show me a better way of living than living in a Christian country. And I'm talking about England or America, Australia or Canada, before they apostatized and got vile, disgusting, creepy, sleazy, vile MPs in Parliament who basically have completely shafted the country. Man, Paul Ross, what's happening in Spain will be repeated in Europe. Islamophobia laws will only perpetuate it. Every European. I mean, the problem is what we're looking down the barrel of. We look at Ballymena. You look at what happened after that monster murdered those three little angels last year, and you look at Ballymena, Southport, Spain. What's happened in France? What's happened in various places on the continent? Do you remember that after the football match when there was Jewish football fans? I think it was Israel. Israel had played. I can't remember. Was it Holland? I don't know. But Israel had played a match, I think, or an Israeli team had played a match, and there was pretty much a pogrom on the streets of Amsterdam, finding Jews and just beating the crap out of them. You know, it's what happened when that Muslim-supported team won the Champions League. They all burned Paris down. You know, we have imported savages into our country. It's as simple as that. We have imported savages into our country who don't share our deals, don't share our customs, and have an inbuilt bent to destroy the country. And then, as well as that, we've got Islamists. We've got Islamists who have a very clever and a very sneaky objective to take over our country by demographics and by politics. So we are on a road to absolute disaster. One thing I'll tell you what I totally agree with Nick Denconi on: deportations. Deport every single person in this country that does not love the country, is only here for a gravy train, and is here just to milk the system. I don't care whether you've got a British passport. If you came here illegally and you got a British passport by nefarious means, the next government, what they need to do, not just deport the illegals, deport all the Islamists, all the ones on the terror watch list, get them gone. Don't care if they were born here, send them back to where their parents came from. or send them to an island somewhere. We don't want any of these people in our country anymore. We've got to be totally, we need a radical government that will take radical measures to make Britain great again. And if that means deporting 6 million people, so be it. So be it. And that's what we're up against. And that's where I do agree with Nick wholeheartedly on that one. The problem is they do. This is the problem. You know, who would have thought the police would be taking orders from Islamists, but they are. Who would have thought the Home Office would be controlled by Islamists, but it is. Who would have thought the Labour Party would be controlled by Islamists? You know, this is meant to be the party of freedom and gay rights and equality. This is meant to be what the Labour Party claim they're about. But no, they've been hijacked by Islamists. Do me a favor, let me know where I can get that. I'd love to find that. Please put that in the comments, can you? Or find somewhere. I think I've got an email address on one of the sites, or on one of the YouTube channels, or even personal message me on Twitter. I'd love to. The Crescent over Britain. If I'm going to Google that, the Crescent over Britain. Oh, there we go. Got it on Amazon, but I'm not logged in at the minute. But excuse me, I'll have a look at that later. Oh dear. Okay. Bumpy, don't lose faith. Sign the pledge and join. I agree. That's Listen. There's three things. The most important three things we can do to save our country at the minute is not take to the streets in any sort of violent disorder. The most important things we can do to save our country at the minute is this: sign the pledge, join Advance UK, register to vote, and do it in that order. Actually, do it in reverse order: register to vote, join Advance UK, sign the pledge. Either order, it doesn't matter. Just do those three things, and then make sure you get active and you start being politically active, and you start being a pain in the arse to your family and to your neighbours and to everybody else, telling them what's going on. Because how many people are still asleep? I remember when the guys from Rebel Media were over, and they had a look at. They were filming our demonstration. They went, "Well, we want to go and have a look at see what these people in the pub think." And the people in the pub across the road, we've been doing this demo for years, and the people in the pub across the road didn't have a clue. They did not have a clue. They said we were racist, xenophobes, blah, 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 all the usual stuff. Absolute nonsense. I have never cared. I've never cared what color your skin is. I don't care whether you're yellow, purple, pink, orange, green. I don't care. What I care about is what you believe and do you love the country? And that's what we've always said. Is your heart red, white, and blue? You know, and I don't care if you're a nominal Muslim, like my friend Shohab, right? Do you know what? I could name others, but I don't want to name them because it puts them in danger. If you're one of them, and there are some really lovely Muslim people that I know, right? If you're one of them and you love the country and you love the UK and you want it to prosper and you don't want Sharia law and you want to just live a Western lifestyle, I call it a Muslim in name only, a Muslim in name only. If you're a Muslim in name only, then you're no threat to the UK. You're not going to damage the UK. But if you're a fanatical Islamist that wants to take over the UK and turn it into an Islamic state, and you're working inside the system to do that, I want you gone. I don't want you in my country. I want you gone. If you're working to destroy my country and enforce your fake, blasphemous religion on my country, I want you gone. It's as simple as that. I want you out of the country. That's just the way I feel. And will I be able to say this under these new definitions? Absolutely not. There we go. There's my brother. Just mentioned you, Shohab. Hadn't even seen that. So you probably posted that before I said that. But Shohab, what I was saying was, you know, if every single Muslim in the country was like you, we wouldn't have a problem. Law-abiding, Britain-loving, tolerant, kind, we would not have a problem. But the problem is we've got millions that aren't like you, and that is a big, big problem. Yep, that's it. That's it. That's exactly it. They will never stop them doing it in the UK if they can. Yeah. So this is not Richard the Islamophobe saying this. This is Shohab the Muslim saying this. So, and Show, keep yourself safe, brother, because you're taking a lot of risks, and man, we need you in the fight. We need you in the fight. I've been to Islamic school from Yeah. You see? I mean, this is the thing. This is the hidden sickness of all this, right? 50%, according to Islamic doctrine, 50% of their own religion, 50% of their own religion are second-class citizens. That, because we all know they treat women as lesser beings than men, right? That's it. That is Islam. Okay? So what do we do? How can we how can that be compatible? How can that be compatible with Western civilization? It can't. If there was an emancipation of Muslim women, it would be the most massive shock to Islam that it's ever had. If Muslim women said, "Do you know what? We're not going to put up with any of that crap anymore. We're not going to wear those. We're not going to walk around on a lovely sunny day dressed head to toe in a bin liner. We're not going to do that. We're not going to have our husbands tell us that we have to dress like that every day when we go out." And these are the sort of things that would change Islam radically. And you ban halal, you ban Sharia courts, you um, surveil mosques that are preaching hate, and if anybody's breaking any of the crazy hate speech laws that we've got, they get locked up. Because when was the last time you heard of a an Islamic radical getting done for hate speech? Incitement, maybe Andrew Chowdhury got done for incitement, but he wasn't done for hate speech. Whereas there's literally scores of Brits languishing in prison right now because of things that they said at demonstrations or things that they said online, and it's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. And remember, guys, that was the first thing that Keir Starmer did. Yeah, exactly. I mean, this whole thing of these people coming, how much they're going to potentially get £1 billion in compensation. I agree. I agree. Yeah, they do. They look. I mean, that's a massive victory for them. If they can get their hands on a church, and any church that sells their building for it to be turned into a mosque is an enemy of Christianity. It's as simple as that. Churches should not be getting turned into mosques. Churches should be hospitals for people who are sick with sin, like all of us. That's what churches are. They're hospitals for sin sick people, like me and like you, people who have no hope without Christ. And that's why I despise the religion of Islam so much, because it's stealing people away from Christianity. It's taking them to hell, and it's stopping them having true freedom. Because, you know, like I've said before, in Christianity, Christ died for our sins. In Islam, you die for Allah. That's the difference. That's the difference. Oh man. Well, it's looking that way, isn't it? It's certainly looking that way. It's looking like there's a massive Trojan horse in reform. They've been planning it. Absolutely, they've been planning it for decades. They've been planning this for decades, behind mosque doors and in their native homelands, and take over the Western world. Is this the goal? Yes, it is the goal, and it's called Al Hijra. And there's a book by Sam Solomon. Next time I do one of these videos, I'll get the books that I found very, very useful. It's a book by Sam Solomon. Sam outlines the plan, the Islamic plan for the domination of the West by immigration. Sam Solomon outlines it, and it's based on what Muhammad did and said and taught. Yeah, I would agree with that. Man, I'm really slow on these. I'm going to scoot past loads of these comments because, yeah, that's a fair point. I mean, Advance isn't going to get infiltrated, but you know, thanks very much, Shohab. Really, really appreciate that. Really appreciate that. Well, Spencer, under this new legislation, you ain't going to be able to say that. You're going to, you say that publicly under the new legislation, you're likely to get jail time. Yeah, that's true. That's true. There is a lot of evidence that Muhammad didn't exist, but unfortunately, a lot of young Muslims aren't actually um, realizing that. Yeah, Raja Mia, another one, a hero, an absolute hero. He's doing something about the grooming. He's speaking out against it. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, this is the thing. If it's only, however many billion Muslims there are now, is it less, just over two, is it 2 billion yet, or whatever it is? But if only 1% of them are radical, we've got a massive problem. You know what I mean? And there's a lot more than 1% are radical, and that's the issue. Chatting to a lot of males yesterday, and all advocating civil war now. Anger over Afghan leaks has fired them. What else have they done we don't know about? I mean, what I would say is be very careful what you wish for. You know, all I can go on is my military experience and and anyone that loads of the viewers here live in Northern Ireland. Most of us lived through the Troubles, and it wasn't a civil war. It was very well, it was, but it was a very low intensity civil war, and it was very controlled by the state. And towards the end, did they have a handle on things? Probably not fully, but they could keep it contained. If there's a civil war in England, you've got to understand one thing as well. These Islamists are ready for it. Look at what they did with the Muslim Defense League when things kicked off in September last year. Machetes, baseball bats, and the police did nothing. So you've got to understand that a civil war would be a catastrophe for the UK. And I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I don't know whether a civil war will happen or not, but I don't want it to happen. I want to solve this politically and peacefully. But I understand the anger as well. I understood the anger in Ballymena. Everybody I spoke to in Ballymena, this wasn't an Islam thing, this was a Roma mafia. Everybody that I spoke to in Ballymena was glad that that Roma mafia had been put out of town. Everybody. And I spoke to immigrants, I spoke to migrants, and again, didn't vet them. They were just random people. I spoke to people in Clonavon. I spoke to people in the estates. I spoke to people from all different backgrounds, all cultures, and they were all glad that that mafia had gone. And I think that's the problem that we got, that people are at exploding point. Look at what happened in Epping with the with stand up to racism turning up. They got ran out of town, you know. And we are in a very dangerous situation. And we've got to try and do this politically, because if there's a civil war, it gives the state more and more power to come down in a draconian manner. It gives the state more and more power to lock people up. And with technology now, I mean, look, cameras, this, and this, people are just going to be either dead or in jail if there's a civil war. And I don't want that for my fellow patriots. I don't want that for the country. I don't want that for our Muslim neighbors. I want this to be sorted out peacefully, spiritually by a Christian revival, and politically by getting control of the government, using the pledge, using Advance UK, and hopefully all the other parties coming in and joining with Advance UK, and hopefully Restore coming in and joining with Advance UK, and maybe some Tories and some Reform people. That's what I want to see. That's my pipe dream. And I don't think it's too far fetched. When you look at how Reform did, and Reform is massively compromised and they're still riding high in the polls. Can we do it with Rupert and Ben and through gritted teeth Nick? Yes. And William Colston and all the other good people of goodwill in this country, and Muslims of goodwill, and Christians of goodwill, and Jews of goodwill. Can we turn this country around without violence? Yes, we can. But I agree that we're a tinderbox and things are about to blow. And that's where the state doesn't seem to realize that if if this starts and it snowballs, it engulfs every area of everybody's life. And again, activists are going to be the first ones to be targeted. We're going to be the first ones that are going to be singled out by our enemies, and even by some people on our own side, because that's the way it works in a civil war. It's brutal. Stuff that happened in Northern Ireland during the Troubles was brutal, and it wasn't just Catholic against Protestant. Sometimes it was Protestant against Protestant and Catholic against Catholic, or Republican against Republican and loyalist against loyalist. That's what happens in civil war. You think about all these little spats that you have online with people. Well, when that gets kinetic, those spats become real world problems. So I don't want a civil war. I do believe in street protest. I believe in politics. I believe there's a spiritual answer, there's a political answer, and I also believe we need to be able to defend ourselves as well, which we can't at the minute. But I do not want a civil war under any circumstances. I think it'd be a catastrophe for the country. And even if you look at David Betts talking about this, he's talking about if there's a civil war, 250,000 people getting killed. And that's just extrapolating what happened in Northern Ireland, you know? I don't think there's 25 to 30 million Muslims in the UK, but I think there's probably nearer 10 million without a shadow of a doubt. Well, this is another thing. That's absolutely right. That is absolutely right. One of the problems that we've got, and I'm naming myself as the problem, one of the problems that we've got in the UK is we turned away from God and we went our own way and did our own thing corporately and as individuals. And the Bible's very clear. God will only let you go so far before he does whatever he needs to do to bring you back. And I believe we are a country, and we talked about this the other night with Brett. We're a country that needs to repent. You know, people talk about Christian nationalism. Well, the only way Christian nationalism can work is if there's a genuine spiritual revival. Yeah, Grace, I think that's a great idea. I think that's a really good idea. We'll do that. We'll definitely do that. It's another one on the list of all the things I've got to do. Yeah, I agree with that. That's true, isn't it? We can't defend ourselves verbally. God forbid physically. We can't. You know, there's things I could have. There's probably things I've said on. You know, if somebody went through all my videos and internet posts, especially if they get this new Islamophobia thing through, they could probably lock me up for stuff I've said. You know, and I haven't said anything hateful, but I've certainly been very, very critical of Islam, or as they call it now, Muslimness. Well, anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap this up because I've been going. How long is it? Man, that's an hour. I was going to do a 10-minute video. I was going to do a 10-minute video just talking about signing this thing. So let me summarize. Okay, the links are in the description below. There's a link to Nick Timothy, who's a Conservative MP, and he's really fighting the fight properly on this, right? So click through to Nick Timothy's page and basically check out what he's saying, okay? And he's basically gives you advice on how to fill in the consultation form, right? So he's in Parliament, he knows what he's talking about. Click on his link first, then click on the other link, which is the link to take you through to the consultation. I think it's in his description as well. And let's at least have our say. At least we can do something, yeah? And then we've got to have this on our radar. The pledge is going to be doing stuff on this. This is a big thing, and the pledge is not going to miss the mark on this, okay? So let's do this. Let's get on this. And, you know, we are the 60 million. We're the 60 million people of this country that don't want to see it go down the toilet, okay? So we are the majority. Don't let the scumbags in the media and all the rest of it pretend that they're the majority. They're not. Yeah, absolutely sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. Right, guys, I'm going to go. We know what we're doing. Let's get this one done today. Um, the link's in the description of the video. If you're on Twitter, are you on Twitter? If you're on YouTube, the link's in the description below. If you're on Twitter, you'd need to go to my YouTube channels. Go to Counter Media on YouTube and you find the links. Yeah. Right, guys, I'm going to go. God bless you all. See you all soon.